If you thought the stakes were already impossibly high, I am telling you right now that you are not ready for this. We are talking about a shocking turn of events that transforms a desperate rescue mission into a catastrophic trap. A massive betrayal is looming on the horizon, and a secret so dark is about to be exposed that it will leave several of our most beloved residents fighting for their very survival. The rumors swirling behind the scenes point to a storyline that is going to completely shatter the current power dynamics, and we need to break down every single terrifying detail. Let us start with Valentin, who is currently standing at the edge of a terrifying precipice. He is holding a wild card, a mysterious and highly dangerous contact known in the underground only as Z. This enigmatic Z supposedly possesses the vast resources, the hidden network, and the ruthless cunning required to track down Jocelyn. But here is the agonizing catch, guys. Um, Reaching out to Z is not just a simple phone call. It requires Valentin to step completely out of the shadows. It requires him to light a massive beacon in the dark, a beacon that could easily be spotted by the relentless authorities who are currently hunting him down. If Valentin makes this fateful connection, the chances of his secure location being compromised skyrocket exponentially. The ultimate nightmare constantly looms over his head, being dragged back in chains to the cold, unforgiving, and brutal walls of Steinmauer. Valentin is a master of self-preservation, a man who has spent his entire life outsmarting his enemies and staying one step ahead of the law. He knows the agonizing reality of Steinmauer, and he absolutely does not want to trade his hard-won freedom for a dangerous gamble that might not even pay off in the end. Now, I need you to put yourselves in Carly's shoes for just a second. If you ask me, there is absolutely nothing more dangerous, nothing more relentlessly destructive on this earth than a mother who is terrified for her missing child. Carly is practically vibrating with an overwhelming panic and a blinding desperation. Jocelyn is out there somewhere in the terrifying unknown, vulnerable, perhaps in grave and immediate danger, and Carly is certainly not going to sit around waiting for a miracle to fall from the sky. She looks directly at Valentin. She sees a man who holds the potential key to her daughter's salvation, and she simply does not care about the personal cost to him. Carly wants to push this dangerous plan forward immediately. Damn the consequences. The friction between them is becoming incredibly palpable. You can practically feel the intense heat of their arguments radiating through the screen. Carly is demanding immediate action, demanding that Valentin sacrifice his own safety and his freedom for Jocelyn. This escalating conflict between a desperate, fiercely protective mother and a cautious, calculating fugitive is a ticking time bomb waiting to decimate everything in its path. And guys, when you have two fiercely stubborn, incredibly strong-willed people pushing against each other under such immense life or death pressure, a catastrophic mistake is not just a mere possibility, it is an absolute inevitability. The tension finally snaps. A fateful decision is made in utter haste, driven entirely by Carly's blinding anxiety and Valentin's reluctant, exhausted concession. But the very moment Valentin drops his guard and exposes his concealed position to contact Z, the entire board flips in a horrifying direction. The grand rescue plan, which was supposed to be their ultimate saving grace, instantly morphs into a devastating, inescapable trap. It backfires with a sickening, terrifying finality. Valentin's hidden location is exposed to the world. The authorities rapidly swoop in from all sides, and the invisible walls violently close around him. Just picture the sheer cinematic tragedy of this impending moment. Valentin, a brilliant strategist who has evaded capture time and time again, is finally cornered with nowhere left to run. The heavy handcuffs click shut, and the dreadful, suffocating reality sets in. He is officially apprehended. He is being sent directly back to the nightmare of Steinmauer. His absolute worst fear has materialized into reality, all because he allowed Carly's overwhelming maternal desperation to completely override his finely tuned tactical instincts. But if you think Valentin's tragic capture is the grand climax of this dark storyline, you are dead wrong. This is merely the opening act of a much more sinister, twisted play. Because right as the heavy iron doors of Steinmauer slam violently shut on Valentin, a far more dangerous secret begins to slither out into the light. The enigmatic and terrifying Z is not just a passive observer in this dangerous game. Z is incredibly sharp, utterly ruthless, and terrifyingly perceptive. It does not take long at all for this shadowy figure to piece together exactly how Valentin's highly secure location was compromised. Z quickly realizes that it was Carly. Carly's relentless pushing, her reckless disregard for operational security, and her frantic impatience are the direct, undeniable reasons Valentin was caught. Now, we need to talk deeply about how Z actually views Valentin. If you ask me, Z never saw Valentin as a genuine friend, a trusted ally, or an equal partner. To a mastermind like Z, Valentin was nothing more than a highly valuable, strategic pawn on a massive, invisible chessboard. Valentin was a crucial means to a very specific end, a vital asset in a much larger, unseen power game that the rest of Port Charles is entirely oblivious to. And suddenly, entirely because of Carly's reckless interference, that vital pawn has been violently swept off the board and locked away in an impenetrable fortress. Z has just lost a major piece of leverage, a vital tool in their grand design, and the cold, calculating fury that follows this realization is going to be absolutely biblical. With Valentin completely neutralized and out of the picture, the entire dynamic of the situation shifts in a terrifying, stomach churning way. Whatever minimal motivation Z might have originally had to actually help track down and save Jocelyn evaporates into thin air. In fact, it is highly likely that the entire rescue mission was nothing more than a convenient, elaborate ruse to keep Valentin engaged and compliant anyway. Z never truly cared about saving Jocelyn. It was all a meticulously calculated illusion, a cruel power play designed to manipulate the players on the board. And now that the illusion has been violently shattered, Z turns their full, terrifying, and undivided attention toward the specific person responsible for ruining the grand design. Z turns their wrath directly toward Carly. In the cold, emotionless, and calculating eyes of Z, Carly is not a grieving, terrified mother desperately trying to save her child. She is a destructive, chaotic liability who desperately needs to be punished for her interference. She is the reckless wrench thrown directly into the delicate gears of a meticulously crafted machine. So Z decides to exact a brutal, uncompromising retaliation. The storyline takes a violently dark, psychological turn right here, guys. Z does not just issue a simple threat to Carly. Z orchestrates a flawless, terrifying, and completely silent abduction. Carly is kidnapped, snatched away from the familiar streets without a single trace. She is violently removed from her life and thrown into a top secret, heavily guarded, undisclosed location. A dark place where her frantic screams cannot possibly be heard, where her vast wealth, her deep connections, and her formidable influence mean absolutely nothing. Z imprisons her not just as a simple act of pure, unadulterated vengeance, but as a brutal, psychological assertion of absolute dominance. By holding Carly completely hostage, Z forcefully regains total control of the narrative and the power dynamic. Carly tragically becomes the ultimate collateral damage in this twisted scenario. She is transformed into the helpless scapegoat, forced to pay the ultimate, terrifying price for Valentin's tactical failure and her own fatal, blinding impatience. The sheer suffocating hopelessness of this brand new reality is going to be incredibly difficult to watch. Think about the profound, agonizing isolation of these characters. Valentin is currently rotting away in a bleak, maximum security cell in the darkest depths of Steinmauer. He is completely neutralized, violently stripped of his power, his vast resources, and his ability to protect anyone, let alone the woman who accidentally put him there. He has to sit in that freezing cold cell, staring at the walls, knowing deep in his soul that his momentary hesitation, combined with Carly's uncontrollable recklessness, has effectively doomed them both to a living hell. The psychological torture and the heavy, crushing guilt for Valentin must be absolutely unimaginable. Meanwhile, back in the supposedly safe confines of Port Charles, Brennan and the rest of the frantic crew are operating entirely in the pitch black. They are likely still scrambling desperately, trying to figure out exactly what went wrong with the initial rescue mission, completely and utterly oblivious to the horrifying fact that the mission was a phantom from the very start. Brennan might foolishly believe they are merely facing a temporary, unfortunate setback, but the grim reality is that they are playing a deadly game where the rules have been completely rewritten by a master manipulator. By the time Brennan and the others finally manage to connect the scattered dots and realize that Z is the true, terrifying enemy, that Z never had any genuine intention of saving Jocelyn and has now taken Carly as a desperate prisoner of war, it might be tragically, devastatingly too late. We are currently witnessing an absolute masterclass in psychological manipulation and heartbreaking tragedy. A mother's pure, unconditional love is being cruelly weaponized against her. A seasoned survivor's finely tuned instinct has been overridden by chaotic emotion, leading directly to his ultimate devastating downfall. And a shadowy puppet master is currently thriving in the beautiful, destructive chaos they have so effortlessly created. Will Brennan manage to see through the thick fog of deception before Z coldly decides that Carly has completely outlived her usefulness? Will Valentin somehow find a miraculous way to orchestrate a brilliant counterattack from behind the impenetrable stone walls of Steinbauer? Or is Carly utterly doomed to fade away in a secret, forgotten cell, paying the ultimate terrifying price for a deadly game she never even fully understood she was playing? Let me know your absolute wildest, most unhinged theories in the comments below, guys, because this narrative is about to get incredibly dark, twisted, and unpredictable, and I am absolutely here for every single heart-stopping second of it. Do not forget to subscribe so you never miss an update on this explosive situation.